No, and it's Pelé, he's got it! Pelé has scored, and that is Brazil.
Football pays tribute to Pelé, one of the sport's greatest players who's died at the age of 82.
Brazil declares 3 days of mourning as Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar and Lionel Messi are all amongst those who are paying homage to the footballer they call the King.
Good evening. He was unquestionably one of the greatest footballers who ever lived. But to many, Pelé was much more than just a player. He turned the game into an art, winning 3 World Cups for Brazil and setting goal-scoring records that still stand today. He was respected for his good grace, his humour and the friendship he extended to others both inside and outside the game. We'll bring you all the reaction to Pelé's death from around the world. But first, our sports editor Steve Scott looks back on a footballer who inspired generations.
The moment they heard, they started to come to pay their own tributes at the hospital where Brazil's most famous son closed his eyes for the very last time. They will always remember him here as the man who put the beautiful into the beautiful game.
Pelé, quite through the wall. How about that one then?
Pelé, short in name, but will live long in the memory. The only footballer to have won 3 World Cups, and for many, he was the best ever to play the game. Edson Arantes do Nascimento was born in Brazil in 1940. The moniker Pelé stuck when, as a young boy, he was unable to pronounce the name of a goalkeeper called Pele. He joined Santos in Sao Paulo, aged just 15, and within 2 years would be a household name around the world, scoring 6 goals as Brazil became world champions.
The first World Cup, I was 17 years old, and then everybody think, my God, you was difficult for you, you know, you are very young, but I say, I swear, it was like a dream.
His career total of 1,281 goals remains unsurpassed. This was number 1,000. His feats for both club and country put him centre stage, away from football too.
After giving me ball, here I do these, go. Easy.
It is ironic that for such a prolific goal scorer, he will also be remembered for the one that got away. Pelé even shouted goal when the ball left his head in Brazil's World Cup clash with England in 1970, only for Gordon Banks to somehow deny him. It took the greatest of saves to keep the great man out. His personal life was complicated. Married 3 times, his son Edinho was sent to prison for 12 years for laundering drugs money. Ever since surgery to remove kidney stones in 2014, there have been constant struggles with ill health.
I award you the Olympic Order.
But 2 years later in Rio, he was well enough to receive the highest award the Olympic Games can offer. And as he returned to hospital earlier this month, the Brazilian team at the World Cup in Qatar carried his flag, celebrated his name, as the football family and beyond wished him well. But tonight, when the man whose name instantly meant so much to so many died, he was surrounded by his family. He will forever be football's first global superstar, of whom the artist Andy Warhol once said, "Pelé was one of the few who contradicted my theory. Instead of 15 minutes of fame, he will have 15 centuries."
Well, tonight, as news of Pelé's death spread around the world, today's best players recognise the impact that he had on the game they love. To many, Pelé was their idol, a player with so much talent who did it all with a smile. Martin Stew reports on how the world has reacted.
With a solemn face, Brazilians were delivered the news they'd been dreading.
Que o rei Pelé nos deixou
The King Pelé has left us. From Brazil to Blackpool.
We will now reflect on the greatest of footballing lives.
Football fans applauded as one for the man who lifted the beautiful game to new heights. Jeff Hurst, who played against him, tweeting, "For me, Pelé remains the greatest of all time. I was proud to be on the pitch with him." Modern-day stars also paid homage to their hero. Mbappe tweeting, "The king of football has left us, but his legacy will never be forgotten." Beckham said it was his beautiful game, whilst Brazil's current golden boy Neymar said before Pelé, 10 was just a number. And the modern game's greatest simply said, "Rest in peace."
He was one of life's nice guys.
Those who worked alongside him for decades say Pelé was just as impressive off the pitch.
Apart from all of his talent and all of his fame, and to some extent all of his wealth, he was just down to earth, thoroughly likeable. As far as I can remember, no one's ever said anything bad about him.
When Maradona died 2 years ago, Pelé said he one day hoped they could play football together in the sky. Perhaps now they can. Tonight, the home of English football is illuminated in Brazilian colours, a tribute to the man who lit up every pitch he played on.
Tributes are being paid to the Brazilian football legend Pelé, widely regarded as the greatest player of all time. He's died at the age of 82.
During his 2 decades on the pitch, Pelé scored a world record of more than 1,200 goals in around 1,300 appearances. Became the only player to win the World Cup 3 times. Simon Jones has this report.
Rivellino, and it's Pelé, he's got it! Pelé has scored!
A sporting icon who made football beautiful.
Rivellino centres.
Described by the Brazilian Football Confederation as the greatest sportsperson of all time.
Pelé, the 17-year-old wonder.
He burst onto the international stage at the World Cup in 1958 when he was just 17. He scored 6 goals in 4 matches.
Last minute, it's 5-2 for Brazil.
He'd win the World Cup 3 times, the only player ever to achieve this. In Mexico in 1970, his skill, electrifying speed and deadly accuracy were all on display. In a career that spanned 2 decades, he scored more than 1,000 goals. Fans have been gathering outside the stadium in Sao Paulo that became synonymous with Pelé. And at the hospital where he died, for some, it's proving too much to bear.
Pelé was part of our life. Seems like we're losing a family member. Who didn't dream of being Pelé?
Pelé's death transcends the mere question of being a fan or not. In fact, for the past 40 years, he's really been a worldwide icon.
A message posted on Pelé's Twitter account read, "Inspiration and love mark the journey of King Pelé, who peacefully passed away. Love, love and love forever." His daughter Kelly Nascimento wrote, "Everything we are is thanks to you. We love you infinitely. Rest in peace." The Brazilian star Neymar said, "Before Pelé, football was only a sport. Pelé changed everything. He turned football into art, into entertainment. He gave a voice to the poor, to black people." And England's World Cup winner Sir Geoff Hurst said, "For me, Pelé remains the greatest of all time, and I was proud to be on the pitch with him. R.I.P. Pelé, and thank you." Last night, Wembley's arch was lit in the colours of Brazil, the colours of Pelé. A tribute to an icon mirrored in Rio de Janeiro.
We feel a void, we feel sad. But actually, we never lose him. We never lost him. He's forever with us. He's forever with everyone.
Off the pitch, Pelé campaigned to improve conditions for the most deprived in society. Looking back at his long career, he said he had no regrets.
If I have to do everything again, since I was born until now, I will do everything again, and I thank God.
Pelé's great achievements were marked at this year's World Cup in Qatar as concern for his health grew. The Brazilian government has now declared 3 days of national mourning to pay tribute to a national idol.
Well, as we've been hearing, tributes for Pelé have been pouring in from around the world. Cristiano Ronaldo shared this picture and said, "A mere goodbye to the eternal King Pelé will never be enough to express the pain that's enveloping the whole of the football world right now."
French star Kylian Mbappe also described Pelé as the king of football, adding his legacy will never be forgotten.
And former US President Barack Obama said Pelé was one of the greatest to ever play the beautiful game. And as one of the most recognisable athletes in the world, he understood the power of sport to bring people together. Let's have a look at the front pages of today's newspapers. We begin with the Mirror, and the death of the footballing icon Pelé dominates the papers, of course. The Mirror devotes its whole front page to a picture of him after the World Cup triumph in Mexico in 1970, describing him as a divine genius who made football beautiful.
Have a look at the Sun as well, focusing on tributes to the king of football from current and former stars of the game. Paper reporting that Gary Lineker, current France star Kylian Mbappe were amongst those praising Pelé.